The recipe I'm cooking today is chili con carne. On my website you'll find a recipe for a lamb brisket con carne, but today I'm using beef. Now chili con carne for me is one of my most favourite comfort foods. It has everything. It's got the flavour, it's got taste, it's got spice, it hits all the notes. Today I'm going to be using beef. I've got 500 grams of minced beef and I've got 500 grams of brisket. Now I'm going to be adding a couple of other flavours to this as well, where you might look and think, well, that doesn't belong there. But I'm going to disagree with that, because they do. And this is my version of it. Everything that's added to this brings either a depth of flavour or freshness to the chili con carne. First of all, I'm going to start off with the brisket. I'm going to make a wee marinade, a simple marinade, using oil, the brisket. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil. I've got 1 tablespoon of dark cocoa powder. Now, you're probably thinking, cocoa powder? If you ever have a decent chili con carne, in the background you'll notice a flavour, and it is in the background. It's really just, it's out there, and you might not really pick up on it, but it's something that's just in the background. So I'm going to take that just forward a wee bit, and we're going to marinate the beef in our cocoa powder. Now to that as well, I'm going to add plenty of cracked black pepper to this. Quite a few turns there. Another quick mix. I'm going to make sure it's completely covered with the cocoa powder and the cracked black pepper. Now what that's going to do is we're going to leave that for a good hour to marinate, and then we're going to fry the brisket off, then into the oven on low for a couple of hours. Now the reason I'm doing it this way is, once it hits the frying pan, it's going to offer not just that background flavour, but it's going to offer a slight smokiness to it as well. Not just from the cocoa powder, but from the pepper as well. So we'll leave that just marinate for a good hour. Now the beef's been marinating, I'm just going to add a tablespoon to the hot pan. Now we're going to take the beef and just very carefully into the pan. Now this is going to make some noise. Now what we're after is, we want an even sear and a nice even brown colour. We don't want it to go any darker, or it'll just burn and become bitter. A few turns of salt. Just smell that now. Beautiful. Oh yes, look at that. Look at that. So what we're doing just now with the beef is, we're already starting to build up that flavour profile for this chilli. I'm going to see it on all sides. Now we've got a good colour on there. You can just see that, all the edges transferred into our dish. Wasting nothing here. Now you can see the dish I'm using, it's suitable for this size of roasting joint. If I was to leave that in the pan, it would just, the juices would run and burn and become bitter. So suitable dish which will cover the foil, into the oven for 2 hours. Now halfway through that, on the hour mark, we will start on the next part of the beef. but for now we'll start toasting our seeds. Now the brisket's been in the oven for an hour now, so I'm going to talk about the other ingredients for the chilli. I've got 2 cans of kidney beans, 2 tins of chopped tomato, 1 large onion which I've just whizzed in the food processor. The spices and herbs that I've got are a teaspoon of each: ground coriander, oregano, hot chili powder, tarragon, smoked paprika, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. I don't have any fresh garlic in the house, but I've got garlic powder in the cupboard. It's handy and it's great stuff to use. Same with fresh lime, so I'm substituting with 2 lime leaf. Now when we talk about spices, there's 2 types. There's the warm spices and there's the spice as in hot. We're going to put both of these into this chili. Along with the herbs and spices, I'm going to add 1 cinnamon stick. That's going to add, again, some more earthiness to it and some depth. Chilies, 2 red, 2 green. Now 1 of each I will blitz in the food processor with 50 ml of Leon Perrins and 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. That's going to give us more flavour. Now the seeds I'm using are cumin seeds and coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of each. Same with rosemary. Now the rosemary is going to take some sweetness into the dish. To start off with, our cumin seeds and coriander seeds into our hot pan. Now we just want to toast these. Just want to toast them very gently. And what that's going to do is going to activate them and it's going to get the flavours going. Already the room's starting to fill with that coriander and cumin seed aroma. It's quite pungent. Now we want to be careful, we do not want to burn these. If we burn them, they become bitter. If that happens, scrap the lot and start again. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the rosemary and just whiz it up to a fine powder. Now we continue with the rest of the chili. Now before I start frying my mince, I want to talk about the heat element in this dish. Now when I'm talking about heat now, I'm talking about spice. This is all done in my 3 stages. We've blitzed 2 of the chilies with our fish sauce and Leon Perrins. All this is going to give us the flavour. You're probably thinking fish sauce, but it does really work in it. So we've got the chilies there, which we will add to the pan as well. That's the first stage. We've got the dry chili powder as well, which is going to give us more heat. Now when it comes to it at the end of almost the end of cooking, we're going to take the remainder chilies, slice them and throw them in last minute, which is going to give more freshness, which is more heat. Now I know I'm talking a lot about heat here, but for me I want spice in it, I want the freshness of it, and I want the fruitiness of the chilies as well in there. I'm not trying to be the big man with, I like my food hot. It's not about that. It's all the levels of spice that I'm trying to put into this chili con carne with the flavour and fruitiness. Anyway, on frying the mince into our hot pan, smoking hot, because when it comes to browning mince, we want to brown it, not stew it. Now, you probably noticed in other videos there's 1 tablespoon of oil. Is when we add the mince, the temperature does come down. It's the cooker I've got, it's not a big deal, but it will come back up at temperature and we will get it brown. Because browning the meat is going to give us flavour. On my website, there is a stock cube added to the recipe. I'm not adding a stock cube to this. I'm getting the flavour of everything I'm using, which is the beef. So into the pan. I just want to break that up. Now we're really starting to get it really crispy now. You can hear that frying. And then we'll start hearing this popping noise. So we're just going to continue with this until we get it nice and brown. Now the mince is browned. You can see at the bottom of the pan there, all the good stuff. There is the base of our stock. So now, I'll reserve the lime leaf. I'm going to reserve cinnamon stick. 1 tablespoon. Good tablespoon of tomato puree. Get the rawness out of that. Now in with our dry spices and garlic. In with our cumin, coriander and rosemary. Whoa. Pungent. Very nice. Now in with our chopped onion. Now in with our chili, fresh sauce and green currants. Our tomato. I'm just scraping all that goodness from the bottom of the pan. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this up to simmer, and once it's simmered, beef is almost ready to come out of the oven. We'll rest it, and we're going to pull that down, and we're going to add that to our chili. So that's just coming up to simmer now. And now on with the brisket. So now the beef's had 2 hours in the oven. Now the oven was set at 170 degrees. We can see it now. It's got a nice crust to it from the cocoa powder. It's lovely and tender, and it's just manageable for me to handle. Hence the gloves. I've got no patience. Even though it has rested, it will be quite hot. So I just want to pull that. If you didn't have these kind of gloves, clean marigolds would do, or just go at it with a knife and fork and or 2 forks and just go at it. So I'm just going to remove this butcher twine. Oh, look at that. The twine is just shaving the beef itself. Now, we reserve this. That is flavour. So we'll take our beef now. And we'll just pull it as best we can. Just break it down into nice manageable pieces. Do the fibrous way so we end up with, so we're pulling down at it. I think as even size as you can. The odd bigger piece wouldn't really matter, to be honest. The good thing about the brisket as well is it's got really good beefy flavour, which is going to go really well in our chilli. And there we have it. Now that's now good to add to our pan of mince. So now we're ready to add the brisket to our pan. All in. Now followed by the reserved juices from the beef. Lots of flavour. can see a slight colour change already. To that, 1 teaspoon brown sugar, just for a little sweetness. Our 2 tins of kidney beans. I can't be doing with chilies that are just lightly speckled with kidney beans. And at this stage, I just want to give it a wee taste just to see where we're at before I go any further. Yeah. Cinnamon stick. Our 2 lime leaf. And our lemongrass, which I've just bruised with a rolling pin, which we can just lift out later on, leaving all the fibrous parts in it, but giving us the flavour that we're after. So we'll just poke that in there. Now that, I'm going to put a lid on, into the oven, 160 degrees for an hour, starting halfway. Now let's have a look. This is just out of the oven just now. Ooh. Look at that. Now a good sign on the chili is get this little sort of specks or little pools of what I call chili oil on there. Again, it's all flavour. So I'm just going to remove the cinnamon stick, discard it. There is one of the lime leaves. If we can't find the other, somebody will come across it. No one will come to any harm. Remove the lemongrass. Now at this stage, is where we want to add what I call ginger juice. It's 2 inches of just grated ginger and just a squeeze of juice, which will really freshen it up. Now, on the recipe on the website, it calls for Tabasco sauce. I'm using the sauce. It is beautiful. I'm going to add now this hot sauce, so I'm going to add a good couple of tablespoons. And then followed by our 2 chilies, the red and the green that were left over, seeds and all. Again, we are talking about heat here as well. Now, this isn't for the faint-hearted. It does have loads of flavour and it does have a lot of heat, but it's got the fruitiness of the chilies as well, with all the levels of spice that we've put in there. Now, to cater for everyone's tastes, what you could do is we can pull back on the chili. Maybe put 1 red, 1 green in, or if you don't want it so hot, remove the seeds, or remove from the chili powder as well from the recipe. So there we have my chili con carne, and it's just so tasty. Now I'm going to leave it in the pan, because what I would do is I'd pop that in the middle of the table, because I think this look around the edge is fantastic, and put that in the middle of the table for everyone to dig in. It's pretty special. Enjoy.